Okay, here we go for another one. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. It's not just the title of a video or about basically how screws work, but it's also speaks to a larger aspect of society, doesn't it? In general, where lefty societies are all kind of loosey goosey, aren't they? At least this is the way it's portrayed. Like I say, I'm not going to sit here and completely shit on everything left wing, but a lot of the time, lefty loosey, you have, all sorts of wild ideas about freedom and you should be able to do whatever you want, sort of thing, right? We're against authoritarianism, this and that. And then, of course, righty tighty. And, the authoritarianism comes in, the presence of hierarchies and whatnot against the we only, we don't like hierarchies of the anarchist types and all that other shit. There's a certain truth to that, isn't there? There's a certain truth to that. I mean, and like I said, I know left and right, that idea comes from, of course, the French Revolution, where the folks who wanted, the Catholic Church to be less in control of society in France sat on the left side, and the folks who still wanted the control of the Catholic Church sat on the right side. Okay, that's at least as far as we know. That's where it comes from. I know that pretty much everybody knows that, but just in case, I think that it's interesting the way these societies, the idealism and the sort of not even idealism. I think it's not even idealism because I think, especially in today's world, um, we know that the folks who promote the ideas of like, well, if we just, if we abolish borders and we got rid of all these things and everything would be glorious. The thing is, there are enough people, I think, within these groups who know that's bullshit. You know, which include the tankies. Feel as you want to about tankies, this and that, but at least some tankies are somewhat realistic. I don't agree with them necessarily, but they are correct in this way that, yeah, to keep a society going, you need to put people in line. Much as talking about Biden. Now, Biden is no lefty. He's just a shit lib. And he's an old man who is desperately holding on to what sort of whatever legacy he has. People are going to cope about him. Oh my goodness, are they going to cope? But we see a country that is going to pieces. Now, mind you, it's been going to pieces for a long time, and we've had this back and forth. What I would say is, I'm thinking my words very carefully. But what I would say is that, yeah, we've seen a huge rise in the, inflation coming up to 7%. We see a society that really doesn't know where they're going. Now, of course, mind you, riots and protests have kind of, they have grown smaller. They are not, the big crowds and whatnot for the George Floyd protests or the whatever, the it was funny to me. I'll put it this way too, which is funny. I heard Bo the Fifth Column talk about the difference between, left wing and right wing groups. And he said that right wing groups, purely rely on authoritarianism and like, hierarchy, this and that, and left wing groups don't. And it's like, right wing groups just continue on with what they're doing, this and that, this and that. He ignores, of course, the fact that there are groups like Adam Waffen, this and that, or whatever. I'm not gonna sit here and praise Adam Waffen. Don't worry, feds. No, no, no. Um, but I think he's like, most of the time, left wing groups are, anti-authoritarian, this and that, and they get their way by having all these riots. I was like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, they had all those riots, and they were They did something that was probably the worst thing for those groups. They were co-opted, and their energy was robbed from them by the Democratic Party. And that's how part of the reason why Joe Biden got elected is because the Democrats stole the energy of defunding the police and better rights and all this sort of thing. Defunding the police no longer exists. CRT is already in the toilet. It's not coming back. I know I sound a bit like Styx Hexenhammer when I say it like this, but it's the truth. Um, it's not it's not coming back. So this idea that, oh well, the riots and protests are going to get us something. No, no. Did it work in 1968? No, it didn't. We stayed in Vietnam officially until 1975. You know, like I say, for the most part, the U.S. Army was gone by 1972. The Marine Corps, or probably, the U.S. Army probably out by 1971 mostly. Uh, Marine Corps mostly by 72, 73. You know, by the process of Vietnamization. But my point is this: is that when you see these sort of lefty, see, here's the biggest problem with the left is they have to become authoritarian to get their shit done, regardless. And they go against their beliefs. And so the thing is, I mean, do you think Joseph Stalin purely was this evil guy or whatever? It's like, I think he became that way because he was tired of the bullshit. He's like, whatever the case may be, right? When you get into those higher levels of power, I don't care if you're so called left wing, so called right wing, you become a natural authoritarian because you may have, depending on what level of society you're in, but you want to protect what you have, right? So, I mean, if you become a millionaire or if you become a billionaire, whatever the case may be, you're not going to just give that up, are you? Nobody's going to do that. They're like, huh, I got all this money. Why would I do that? You know what I mean? Yeah, it is what it is. Civilian perspective. That's a funny guy. Is this a legit guy too? Okay, sorry, I'm getting distracted. But yeah, I mean, that's my take on it. Lefty societies in general just become a mess, really. Completely so-called lefty society without authoritarians and without, any sort of, where you have bodily autonomy and all this sort of thing. Those are madhouses. That's literally, what anarchy is. Now, of course, anarchists try to step away from that and say, well, we're going to have organizations and we're going to have, contracts still, and they make their excuses. Like I say, and they try to do that. We see the pitiful movements that they do. It's the same thing with that one guy who makes like a video every week or something like that, talking about, you know, I can't I can't even think of his name because I don't care. I think, but I remember when he said in that video that it's like, oh well, we're against, we support immigration, but unless they're proved to be terrorists, it's like, how do you prove that they're terrorists? And so yeah, it goes to show once again that lefty loosey, righty tighty um, is a fair description, I think, of politics in general. In general. Anyway, I think that's all I got. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed that. See you later. Bye bye.